I'm Jane Backeberg, and I'm the co-eco lead for Cardinal Newman Catholic School.
And what's your other roles in the school?
So I'm the Key Stage 5 curriculum leader for English language. In other words, that's the A-level course that I'm in charge of. And I obviously teach year 12 and 13 English language. I also teach some lower school language, English language, and I am also a criminology teacher. So.
And you've got this group of eco ambassadors. How long have you been running the eco ambassadors and doing sustainability in the school?
I've been working on sustainability in the school for the past 3 years. It started with me suggesting that we could do a litter pick rota, because I noticed that, you know, with the wind and the seagulls and so on, we have quite a lot of litter around the site. So I started with that, and then the person who was working with Eco Ambassadors took on a different role and asked if I would like to take over. So that was 3 years ago, and it's been a full-time commitment from me since then, something I'm absolutely passionate about because it's so important.
And the group that you've got as Eco Ambassadors, just do you want to talk a bit about how big it is, the year groups and the types of people who get involved in it?
So it's open to anyone. We have school student ambassadors in all different capacities in the school, and generally there's one per house. We have 12 houses in the lower school. But I spoke to the principal, and on the basis that I think, you know, looking after the environment is probably our number one priority at this moment in time, I argued to have as big a team as I can possibly raise. So at any given time, I've probably got 20 or so student eco ambassadors, and they are from all year groups, so anyone between year 7 and year 11 can apply. The year 11s, I obviously encourage them to prioritize their academic work, but they do as much as they can.
How just then about the refill shop, how long have you been doing the refill? How did you sort of hear about it? How did you get involved? What's the story of that?
Okay, I think I heard about the refill shop through the project that preceded Secondary Schools for a Sustainable Future with Brighton and Hove Council. Was called Our City, Our World with primary schools. And I believe that Katie Eberstein from Brighton and Hove Council, who's the eco-education officer, I think she mentioned to me that there's this organisation called Pupils Profit looking for schools to kind of have a go at like a pilot for a refill shop. And I was like, oh, that's a brilliant idea, because I've used refill shops myself for years. And I thought, how lovely to have it actually at school. So I got in touch with Lizzie, and she got us started. There was some seed money to get us started with our first batch of products. That was in June 2.5 years ago. So we've been doing it for 2 full years, but we actually did our first, no, that was earlier. We did our first refill shop the May before that. So
what does it look like in your school? How does it operate here?
So the way it operates here is we do it once a month. Unlike primary schools where you have parents coming to the gate or into the school, which is obviously a really lovely way of targeting parents, we basically, partly because of where we are, it would be really tricky for parents to park here. We just thought, well, we'll open it up. We have advertised it to our community, but most of our customers are teachers, and increasingly students, particularly the eco ambassadors, are now starting to bring in their bottles and refill for their families as well. So it requires a lot of planning and organization. You do need to have clear structures in place. So you would have seen we've got our, like today's sales, where we record everything. We've got our carefully worked out price list so that when it's hectic we can quickly work out what everybody owes us. And with the first cohort of eco ambassadors, we ran the proper training program that Pupils Profit offers, and since then it's been a kind of mentoring each year. So like next year we'll have new recruits, and these students who you saw in operation today, we'll train them up in what to do. And you even saw today, we had 2 students here today who've never done the refill shop before, but the others just showed them the ropes, and away we go.
Why do you think it's so important to run something like this in a school?
I know that a lot of my colleagues, this is a very eco-conscious school, and particularly with having an official role of someone like me, talking to the staff at briefings and stuff like that, everybody's trying their best. And I think because in a secondary environment, there's so much demand and so much pressure on exams and exam preparation, I think for a lot of people, you need to try and make it as easy and accessible as possible to do what you can for the environment. So I think the refill shop, what it mainly offers is an opportunity for all sorts of people to make a big difference by just not buying new plastic bottles all the time. Mm-hmm. And in addition, products that are really ethically sound in terms of, you know, the minimal shipping involved, minimal energy used in that sense, the fact that it's a closed loop, so the empty bottles, the big 5-litre bottles, go back and get reused again. And we made a decision right from the beginning that we would never ever sell any kind of new bottles to people. So all the bottles you saw being refilled today have either been donated by people or found, literally found during litter picks and rinsed and used.
Wow.
So I think it's really important, because I think to date as a school we've saved something, if I added up what we've done today, over 700, equivalent of over 700 500ml bottles from being bought.
Is there any advice you'd give another teacher who might be thinking about doing this? Is there something you think, oh, that's a good first step, or this is a good way to go about it?
Yeah, I think the thing that made the biggest difference for me was having a decent venue to run the shop from. Before this year, I was in the college building, and I didn't have the products stored in the same building because there just wasn't a space for them. So it was a case of me I always booked the refill shop on a day when I had a free before, and I would spend the hour trudging up and down stairs, occasionally roping in some sixth formers to help me, carrying the bottles up and down from, you know, a building without a lift, first floor of that building, down the stairs, across to another building, and then at the end of the refill shop, back again. And very fortunately for me, one of my customers now, Mr. Brown, he's a DT teacher, and he said, what you're doing is fantastic, but it looks like a lot of work. He saw me sort of trudging back at the end of the refill shop. And so having a good space, luckily for me, the design and technology department said, we've got this big cupboard in the lockable staff toilets where you can store your products and then just come and use so it's literally 5 minutes, even by myself. And as you can see, my team are very well versed in packing up and clearing up. So have a good plan, have a good location. The other thing that's really important is remind. So the week before the refill shop opening, I make sure it goes in the newsletter, which goes to everybody on a Friday. And then I put a reminder in. We have an all-staff bulletin that goes out every day, and everyone just replies on that. So there's one thread. I always give a shout out 2 days before, and you know, at about 5 o'clock the day before, I'm like, put your bottles in your bags. And always have empty bottles in case people really want to come and support but haven't got their bottles. So that would be my main advice.
I think that's all great. I mean, one thing I would say, and I'm sure Lizzie would say the same, are you hiding there, Lizzie, is, you know, it's obvious the impact, and just, you know, the students, how bought in they are, how kind of they understand it all, like the level of organisation, and then also that community, you know, seeing the teachers come through like this and really it being part of their normal, that feels like that's something quite powerful there.
Yeah. Breaking down the barriers between teachers and children.
Absolutely.
Really
Absolutely.
human.
And I think the nicest thing for me, I think the most rewarding thing for me about working with the Eco Ambassadors is that I've had students coming through as Eco Ambassadors. I've had some students who've done it year on year. So like Liliana, as I said, this is her 3rd year as an Eco Ambassador, and she'll carry on and do it in year 11 as well. And I've had some students who've now moved on to 6th form, and they still come and talk to me about things. 2 of our 6th form boys went to a kind of eco event at Wakehurst, and one of them is doing his dissertation for geography on what he's learned about the environment through being involved as an Eco Ambassador. And I think what I've loved about it is that it allows students to shine who perhaps might not in other contexts. And they are recognized for the work they do, they are praised for the work they do because it is so important. And as they themselves were saying, a lot of them have just really developed so much more confidence in themselves and in terms of presenting, researching. You know, they've done things like researching the impact of energy, of transport, of food, and then put together PowerPoints that get shared in PSHE. They've presented in assemblies. They've presented in front of 5 other schools and local councillors and 5 other head teachers with absolute confidence. And it's because they care. So I feel, you know, I always think if you're talking from the heart about something you're passionate about, you're going to be confident, aren't you?